Welcome back to Ripple Effect Connection. I'm your host, Christy Hugic. I am a health and performance coach and a level 3 integrative health practitioner. This is my 50th full episode. I cannot believe this. This started out as such a simple thing that I wanted to do, and it has turned into this, and I love it. I am so thankful for every one of you that has listened to an episode, and even more gratitude flows from me when I think about the people that have been helped because you have decided to share the episode with someone else. And I absolutely love the conversations that we have around each episode. This podcast is about connecting you to the message and the messengers that can truly change the trajectory of your health. And today, the trajectory of Ian Clark's health was truly changed. What if you were told you had a limited number of days left to live? And instead of accepting it, you decided to rebuild your body from the ground up. Today's guest, Ian Clark, was given what many would consider a death sentence. But rather than surrendering to it, he went on a relentless search for answers, digging into essential minerals, detoxification, nutrient density, and the science of delivery systems that actually allow the body to absorb what it needs and in turn heal. That journey didn't just restore his health, it reshaped his entire philosophy on healing. So in this episode, we talk about why essential minerals are foundational to cellular health, why delivery methods matter just as much as the nutrient itself, his unexpected take on longevity, and why it's not about living longer at all. His bold perspective on modern dentistry and why oral health may be one of the most overlooked drivers of systemic disease, and why mindset, including the words we speak, play a powerful role in shaping our biology. This is a conversation that challenges assumptions, expands thinking, and invites you to take a deeper ownership of your own health. Let's dive in. Ian Clark, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out for us today.
Yeah, likewise, Christy. It's a pleasure to be here and look forward to our very engaging conversation.
Yeah, you've got a lot of things that I love to talk about. So I think will be a really great conversation, but I would be remiss not to start with the power of your own personal transformation. Can you take us back to the moment when you kind of realized conventional answers maybe weren't enough for you?
That was a pretty remarkable time. That was 22 years ago. And I hit the wall with my health. I didn't even know it was coming. I just thought I was out of shape, or typical 46-year-old not looking really great. And then I found out I had a tumor in my perineum, and I had a bunch of heart disease symptoms, and it kind of all showed up at once. At the time, I didn't know that my liver was messed up. But I found all that out within the year. And when I had all the testing done, all the medical doctors prescribed the surgeries and the drugs and whatever. And it was a total turnoff because I didn't expect it, number one. I thought I was a healthy guy, or at least not like that. And so I called my brother, who was a medical doctor for 30 years. He was up in North Bay. He was not my doctor, but I would always call him if something weird happened. And I explained it to him, and he goes, well, that's all genetic predisposition. You look like Uncle Don. He died at 51 years old, 1978. So both my uncles on my mom's side died 2 days apart. One was 51 and one was 54 in 1978 when I was 20. And I watched them get their diagnosis, prognosis, and they died right on time. Within a year of diagnosis, both of terminal cancer. And my brother's trying to tell me it's your turn. You're just a bit younger. And there's nothing you can do about it. He said he had thousands of patients come through his clinic, that he had 11 doctors working for him there as well. And there was all walks of life, and doesn't matter what people do. It's just the cards you're dealt, and you have to deal with it. So everything I was being told from the doctors in Toronto to my brother, the medical doctor, did not serve me at all. I was basically gloom and doom, and I did not know what to do. And that didn't help either. So in the middle of all that chaos, with me rejecting everything the medical doctors were offering me in Toronto because of fear, I just realized there were people on the earth somewhere who had the highest level of understanding about how to naturally heal the body. And that gave me immediate hope. But then I realized, how do you find them? Because it's a pretty crowded, noisy place out there. And I was on a timeline. I had like 36 months to deal with this. And so that meant I had 36 months to live, not die. And so I requested out loud very clearly, did not demand anything, did not complain, nothing to complain about. I admitted I didn't know what to do. And I also admitted I couldn't find the people who had the highest level of knowledge. And I simply asked to be led to them. And if I was granted that request, then I would do whatever it takes if I was shown something. And when I said that, I felt this very daunting feel because you have no idea what you're going to be requested to do if you already pre-committed to doing whatever. I just said, as long as it doesn't break any laws or hurt anybody, we'll do whatever it takes. And so then I didn't hear a voice or anything, but it was like I heard whoever was responding to me say, we'll see about that. We'll find out. We'll see if you're going to do it. And so it was just very slow, very gradual. But in that next 36 months, I learned enough to get about 5 years extra. So I mitigated a lot of the stuff. Tumor was still there. It had grown significantly. It had become part of the scrotum, part of the rectum. It was in the perineum, right? So it's not a good place to have that. And then I just learned about detox. I learned about elements that are missing in the human body, learned about clean nutrition, but it was the kindergarten level stuff. But that was enough to take action and get results to a certain degree. And then I started learning about natural products, and I didn't realize we were going to have a business in this at the time. But then when I found out about things that people didn't know about and I started telling them, within a couple of years, multiple millions of dollars rolled in unexpectedly, which was from just letting people know about this. And then they were purchasing through myself and my family, even when we didn't even have a company set up. They would just put it in a bank account and then they would get product. And so then I took it very seriously because we generated significant revenue. And it would just put all the money back into research, 100%, to build a facility, to make sure we have quality control, to learn what is the truth about the human body. What's the real deeper truths? Because to get there takes a long time of distilling and letting everything get filtered out and getting to the root cause. And a lot of times I thought I was at the deepest root cause and I wasn't. And that showed me, hey, you got a little ways to go. It's okay, just chill out. And what I noticed also that when you take a step up, that if you don't integrate it and implement it, like I said I would, then it would be a delay. I was not going to get the next step. But once I fully went through that, it didn't matter if I had to suffer, had a whole bunch of fun, spent money, it didn't matter. I had to do what it took. And then the next step would come. And then I found out that my gift was curation, not coming up with things. I can't take credit for any of the things what I know because I was shown those things. And I realized, of course, I'm a curator because I don't have 20 or 30 or 50 years to do the research that these people have done, have shared with me the most important information. All I'm doing is assembling what they have done and finding out that it all works together and that your body is like a chain linked, right? A chain with links. And if a link is getting weak and it breaks, you die, like I was going to die. And if you can strengthen that link and get all the links strong, then you have a much higher quality of life and you just keep living. And that's really where it went. And that's where we are now.
So at that time, when you're kind of shifting your whole mindset away, you're learning all these things that you didn't know before. What are some of the most transformational theories that you learned at that time about the body and what it needs to heal?
Well, the most important thing out of the gate is stop poisoning the body. So we poison ourselves without realizing it. Even if we're eating organic and we're doing all these fancy things, there are certain elements we do have to know. And so learning those things to stop the poisoning. And then the next thing is to repair the damage that those poisons have done. And whether you're breathing it in, drinking it in fluid, or eating it in food, you have to repair the damage once you stop the input. If you can't stop the input, like things you breathe, it's not possible to stop that because you can't stop breathing and you're going to breathe all these pollutants, whether you like it or not. So then you have to detox. So you've got to remove those poisons very efficiently and not harmfully. I learned that you have to do safe detox because there's a lot of dangerous detox, harmful detox. So you got to be careful. And then just finding out, so what are all the poisons? Stop those, get the poisons out, repair the damage. And now you can actually build a body. Because if you try to build, like say if you had an old house and you got to renovate it, you can't renovate it when there's a fire burning in the back bedroom. So the fires have to get put out before you start doing the repair. So just knowing the sequence of things, and you can't rush anything. And just as long as you're staying ahead of that fire that was burning, getting ahead of it, getting the fire out, and then moving on and rebuild everything. And having the body literally torn down, in a sense, there's ways to do that physically, gently, and then the body rebuilds back to its original blueprint. So that it's no longer how old you are, it's how much time have you spent either letting your body fall down or how much time you've spent rebuilding your body. So it's up to you as an individual. People are not required to do what I say they should do at all. I don't want them to do what I want them to do. I want everybody to be healthy. I want everybody to have a fabulous quality of life and be super happy. That's what I want. But I can't put that on somebody. All I can do is find out the things that make people super happy, share that information, and then you do what you feel is right according to what you want to do.
Yeah. And is that kind of what you're referring to? You used, when I looked it up, and did my research about you, I saw that you talk sometimes about being the CEO of your own body, which is a term I use all the time. So I'm curious if what you just referred to is kind of what you mean also by that. What's your reference when you talk about being the CEO of your own body?
Well, as a chief executive officer is responsible for the entire operation. And they can blame people in the operation if they want. It's not going to do them any good. They have to be there as a support for the entire organization. So I'm here to say I can't force my body to heal, but I can support my body to heal. And so learning what it is to take accountability, don't blame anybody else, don't blame yourself. Take accountability, find out what works, and then support that. And then find out better and better means of support that require the least amount of time, energy, effort, and money to get the job done. And then the body will respond because I can't fake where I'm at. It's not possible because my body is able to be measured. There's all kinds of measurement that you can do to tell you where you're at. And I could avoid the measurements so I can pretend that I'm super healthy, or I can open myself up and be exposed fully to everything and say, let's just find out what the truth is. I'm not here to pretend anything. And that's taking accountability and responsibility.
Yeah, and I see that too, because, I do run labs, and I think there are a lot of people that it's not the cost or anything like that that deters them. It's sometimes I think they don't want to know. And because they don't necessarily want to commit to doing some things that are different. You were able to do that, but when you navigated all the conflicting health information that there is, and we're trying to deliver it in 1.5 minute clips on social media of, this is for you and this is for you, when, it's very different for each individual. So how would you suggest someone navigates that world, having been someone who had to do it?
Well, I think being open to possibilities, first of all. Skepticism is actually a part of it, kind of, because you've got to be a little bit of a skeptic, meaning that you're not doubting, but you're wanting due diligence. You want some mathematical, scientific reality that's attached to this, something that you can get your head around logically and go, actually, that sounds right, first of all. And so if it sounds right enough, then you will probably engage with that. And when you engage, you got to see the results. Because me on that timeline, if I didn't get results, I was out of here. The link would break and then you're gone. And then that whole mission's over. So each individual knows themselves better than anyone else. And I find women are far more intelligent at knowing themselves, knowing their body, because your bodies are much more sophisticated, much more sensitive than a male body. Male body's hormones are pretty steady. Females' hormones are adjusting all the time through the cycles of life. And women are just more in tune with what works and what doesn't work. So providing women the important data where they feel safe doing something. So first of all, do no harm. Second of all, don't waste your time, energy, effort, and money on something that's not going to be beneficial, because that's the world we live in. There's a million things you can do that are not the best, and they get in the way of the things that actually work. So if you're spending resources, time, energy, effort, and money on something that's not the top level, you want to be on that journey of open to things that are the actual top level things you can do. And what are the things that people are deficient in? Like if you have a deficiency in something you weren't aware of because no one told you, and it's a major deficiency that's wreaking havoc in an area that you're having to remedy with all these symptomatic fixes, and you could just get rid of that deficiency and then all that goes away. That's our job. That's my whole thing, was just to find what's the truth. Like, quit the fluff. Forget
Yeah.
about the trending things and the shiny objects. That's not where it's at. What are the core foundational things that make all the difference in a person's life so that they are just healthy? Because you have a God-given right to be totally healthy. It's your right. And you got to claim that right. And
For
then you
sure.
ask to be shown, right? And then the right people show up and share that information. So you get to have some fun making your own decisions.
Yeah, it's very powerful to do that, and I had to go through it myself. I had a autoimmune disease, and it's kind of gloom and doom, right? You're told you're going to have this forever. You're going to need to
Yeah.
be on medication forever. I was curious about the conversations that maybe you had with your brother post finding all of this out, because it's not Western medicine's fault, right? Because this is how they were taught. So I'm curious as to, did this at all change your brother's views on some things? It's really hard sometimes for the Western medicine doctor to see the other side because they aren't even allowed to look at the body as a whole, right? When we know that there's nothing in the body that happens in isolation, everything is, like you said, it's all connected, which makes it simple and complicated because you can help one area and help a bunch of areas, but also when things go awry, it also goes awry. So I'm curious as to what your brother said when you do all this research, you come up with this and you're starting to heal. Like, what is your brother saying during that?
Yeah, well, to start with, it was just straight up ridicule. He phoned my mom when he realized I wasn't going to take the medical treatments and told her that I was committing suicide. And so I called everybody up and said, hey, just chill out. Like, give me a 24-month window here. I got enough problems without you having to do this. So it's not going to help anyway. And so then within 3 years, I started to get big improvements. And then, so that was 2004 to 2007. And then in 2008, he came into Toronto and we did go out for dinner and we did talk about things because I was obviously in much better shape at that point, and I didn't have all the scary stuff going on. And he was interested in technology. He was interested in the pulse electromagnetic frequency devices because he said, if these things are really true, if you can prove them, if you could do a double-blind placebo-controlled randomized study on this, then the health insurance agencies would like it because they don't want to spend the money. And if it really worked, then it should be put out there. That was but he said everything has to go through the double-blind placebo-controlled randomized study. And I said, well, Doug, the amount of money, 200 to 300 million per study to get it finalized and accepted by Health Canada and FDA as valid is something that's not happening. And I said, if I would have waited for those things at that time, I would already be dead. So I didn't worry about that. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do any harm. And then everything started to change. Well, that was about the closest we ever came to a conversation that was meaningful. Unfortunately, in 2010, December 2010, he had a mishap with what they said was a herpes simplex virus that would normally show up in your lip. It went into his upper left control center for his communications in his brain and shut down communication, put him into a coma. He was down in Panama. They got him into the hospital. He was in intensive care for 3 weeks. Most people don't survive that in 48 hours. They were able to stabilize him and help him survive that. Then he came home and they scanned him and there was nothing they could see there. They just knew that's where it was hitting. And then he got a glioblastoma multiforme level 4 in January of 2011 and died in March of
Goodness.
that year from this brain tumor where he went through the surgery and the radiation but wouldn't do the chemo. But he would keep saying to me, I said, well, Doug, there are people out there who have really helped people with cancer from a natural. Well, were they my age? Did they have my background? Did they have my type of cancer? Where are they? Prove it. And then I'll listen. Well, I said, you know very well that there's nothing like that. Everyone's unique.
All right.
It was after that I heard about Brzezinski and they were using for the peptides and all that stuff but it was after the fact. So that was a very disappointing time. So it never came to a conclusion. I just felt very badly for him
Yeah.
because he was completely conditioned by his medical training. And when you're a doctor and you tell everybody what to do and they have to do what you tell them, then it was his turn to do what the doctors told him. And the doctors told him, you're going to die.
Yeah.
and this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
No. So that was
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Sorry for your loss on that side, and sad that ended up happening to him. On the other side of the coin of what you learned, what detox is a word that I think people fear in general, even though it's something our body's supposed to do naturally. It's a process that takes place every day. If it wasn't happening every day, we would be dead.
Right.
But detox is a word that does get misused a lot. So how do you define it in kind of like a grounded or sustainable way?
Well, again, I look at it from a mathematical standpoint. So why would we have to detox? And as soon as you start talking about pollution, people say, "Oh, I didn't want to know about it. You're scaring me. You're telling me all this stuff is like a gloom and doom." But it's not, because your body is a very efficient detoxification biological device, right? That can detox gently every single day. But if you get plugged up or you have too much that your body can't deal with, the more you plug up, the faster you plug up. And we're breathing, 4 million liters of air a year. And in that is the tire dust and the brake dust and all the things that are polluting the world, which are on volume. And that's why people get worn out hips and knees, and they get replacements, and they have congestion, and they have all these things that happen. So it's just gently looking at the body and saying, how do I support the body to efficiently detox on its own? And since I've wanted to be respectful, all the respectful things showed up. And so you efficiently remove these things that are visibly leaving your body. So you can see it happen on a live scale. It's not something you're just like wondering if it's working or not. So I think the detox is way overused. People are selling billions of dollars worth of stuff a year for detox when those things are not even really needed at all. But you do need, your body does require certain elemental things. And I found out that all of us are iodine deficient, for example. And so iodine deficiency wreaks havoc on the system because your body is not communicating properly. Every cell in your body needs iodine. People only think about thyroid when you mention iodine, or they think about a cut that you've disinfected or something used in agriculture. The molecular iodine is consumed daily to flood every cell with that communication element. It goes in and helps the body get rid of heavy metals, fungal infections, yeast overgrowth, microbial overloads, whatever that is, right? You don't need to worry about it. It helps with your dental health. You swish it in your mouth in the right form. And the only form that I trust at all is called perfect iodine, which is I2 molecular iodine gas molecule infused in water. So you put it in your mouth and it gets rid of the bacteria that causes tooth decay. So then you swish it in your mouth, it goes into your cheeks, into your bloodstream, and then you just swallow it with a bit of water. It tastes beautiful. Any other iodine I've ever tasted is the most horrible tasting thing on earth.
Yeah.
Right? And it's harsh and it's way overdose. So this is low dose, high volume. And then it goes in your tummy, turns to iodide, and then it picks up in your bloodstream and feeds your thyroid. Now your endocrine system is getting support that it needs. You're being fueled properly. So that's a very beautiful, gentle, simple way to detox your body and support its body intelligence. That taps into body temperature, metabolism, gut health, reproductive organ health, and brain function.
Mm-hmm.
It does all those things. So and you don't have it, you're going to be like everybody else, not realizing you needed it until you get it. And you go, hold it. That was like this huge upgrade. Why weren't we told about this?
Yeah.
So our job is to make people aware, and they can decide whether to employ that or not.
Yeah, and I mean, I think as a integrative health practitioner, like we focus on, replenishing what's missing and, getting rid of what doesn't belong there. So reducing toxicity. So it makes sense, right? And if you did give the body the nutrients it needs, the tools, it can do the work. You just got to put the body in the position to heal. So your company was built around nutrient-dense, earth-derived products like what you're talking about. So what are some of the more impactful products in your line of things that like you used that were also imperative to your healing that now you're bringing to the masses in a high quality form?
Right. Well, we have, over the years, we've been doing this for 18 years now, a little over 18 years, and we have 21 different products, and they all are synergistic. They all are complementary. Some of them are deeper functional foundational things. So the thing I mentioned, like the perfect iodine, number one. Number two is the Ease Magnesium, which is transdermal, goes in through the skin and it stores in your tissue. So it builds a bank account. That takes about 3 months. to get your bank account built up. Because when you consume magnesium in an oral form, which is pretty good, it doesn't store in the tissue. It just goes through your bloodstream, it gets used, and then you excrete. When you store it in the tissue, now you have a bank account to draw on, because you always have to have magnesium in different levels of it depending on your activity. If you have any stress or high brain function or things like that, you'll need more. And it also helps your autonomic nervous system go between sympathetic and parasympathetic very efficiently, helps your body get better restorative sleep. And just there's thousands of different biochemical reactions require magnesium. And when you don't have quite enough, your body picks up on that and it affects your body across the board. And you don't need to have to worry about that. Just top your magnesium levels up. One of the big ones that we've seen such huge results with is Solaris. We call it that because it's like energy from the sun. It's a rosemary, clove, and thyme extract, but it's the entire medicinals from the entire plants, and it's put into an emulsion. So it's not an essential oil. It's not harsh at all. It drops into water and disappears. You can put it on your skin and it disappears into your body. You can put a few drops under your tongue, it disappears. You'll feel it under your tongue because it'll make it numb. So I prefer to put it in water or swish it, or you put it in your toothbrush. It's rid of the bacteria that causes gingivitis and plaque. If people, and I can't make any claims with this, but I can just say anecdotally, this happened many times. People will, on the odd time, will get a hold of us and say, hey, I've got a totally abscessed tooth. They say I need antibiotics and a root canal. What do I do? I say, okay, you swish iodine once a day, 30 seconds. Get the Solaris and rub it right into the gum, right there. And usually within a week, it goes away.
Wow.
So just supporting the body's ability to get rid of it, because something happened to cause that, where the body got overwhelmed. Now there's an infection that it can't deal with, immune system struggling. So it's an immune system support. And then you could get a PEMF device or a red light device or a sound wave device as well. And that will also help because it'll go right into the jaw. But you can't make claims because I can't guarantee that it's going to work for somebody. But you just simply give it a try, see what happens. Because we've seen enough people did that and they got great results. But to make a claim and say for sure, I mean, that you're into a territory that we have no business going into because we've never done a double-blind placebo-controlled randomized study.
Right.
And then the fourth one, which I think is essential as well, is it's called Restore. So it's Oceans Alive Restore. It's a concentrated sea mineral extract that is made into like 100 times concentrated ocean water, but it's pure of heavy metals and microplastics, intentionally pure. Right? It's not just sort of hope it's going to be good. This is measurably pure. And you consume that in your water as an electrolyte, but as more importantly, the raw material your bone marrow needs to produce more clean blood. So when your body goes into a higher volume of blood production, now your body starts to clean itself out because your body intelligence says, hey, I got more blood than normal. That's good. I can dump dirty blood faster. So your body lets the dirty blood go out in the bowels, and then the clean blood keeps renewing and renewing and renewing. And that goes into every cell every 60 seconds and starts to pick up debris. That's your lymphatic system dump into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
That's every cell dump into your bloodstream. And that's a really beautiful, gentle detox that allows your body to get rid of stuff that it otherwise can't. Because if your body was dumping all that stuff into your bloodstream, it would kill you too quick.
Right.
So you want to get that out. It takes about a year. If you're in your 60s, about a year. If you're in your 30s, it's going to take 6 months because it's all based upon the volume of air you breathe. So I'm in my 68th year. I breathed over 260 million liters of air in my life. So when I did this thing with the sea minerals, I did it for 18 months, but I didn't get anything else out the last 6 months. But the first year was this big evacuation of stuff out of my system. And I went from a stiffened cardiovascular system to an elastic, supple cardiovascular system because it got all the hardening debris out of the walls of my arteries, veins, and capillaries and made them from a stiff muscular structure to an elastic one. So I could measure that with my blood pressure.
All right.
Now, when I first started, because I was producing more blood, my blood pressure went way up. It was way up for like 4 months. I kept doing it, and then my blood pressure went back down to normal, continuing to do the same amount of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a cleanup. So just seeing things like that.
Yeah. And I think some of that too is that with blood pressure, like we talk about this so much and I see it on minerals and metals tests. Like, if we could just get the minerals in balance properly, the blood pressure goes back to normal. It
Hmm.
normalizes. So I see many people, I'm like, it could be magnesium, and all they're just told is don't eat salt. It could be magnesium. It could be, a lot of times I see potassium, like people need potassium. And it's amazing that when you just start to focus on those things, all of a sudden there's no more high blood pressure. So this jives. I understand all of that. How do they judge what products are best for them? Like, how do you take them through or suggest what they should do?
That's where we provide the data around what's functional, foundational for everyone, because not all products are for every person, except for when you come to the foundation of your health. Every human being requires magnesium at the core. Every human being requires iodine at the core. Every human being needs to gently detox. Every human being needs to produce a little more blood. And then when you go up into the other product line, then you can decide if you've done a reset at a foundational level and you see the results from that, then you can look into the other things like black cumin seed oil. Now that's a luxury product, but it's also a necessity product if you have issues with different overloads, right? Like people take ivermectin, black cumin seed oil is far superior, right? So it goes after so many, it's like a whole body tonic. You can use it in your skin and your hair. You consume it, only a teaspoon a day. You don't have to take a lot of it. And it has all kinds of elements that'll help with your dental. Like people should think, what are the things that really mess with me? If I don't have good dental health, that's messing with me systemically because each tooth is connected and people say, oh, it is not. Well, it is. Your teeth are connected to your systemic system and you want to make sure you have perfect dental. Perfect dental is what you deserve.
If I can follow up on that, because I think this is an important rabbit hole to go down, because the dental world is one of the hardest to navigate. Like, even as a natural practitioner, like sometimes I'm just like, do I need this? Do I really need this? So if you could talk more about the dental impacts. And again, like I know you mentioned a couple of the products already, but the dental, I think it's really hard for people to navigate the dental world and know what to do.
That's right. Because as a dentist, the dentist's mission is to have their patients with perfect dental health. That's their mission. Should be, right? And that part of that mission is the teeth should never be touched, ever. They should never be scraped, never be drilled. If they have to be scraped and drilled, that means the person does not know how to care for themselves. They don't know how to take care of their dental because nobody told them. They might brush and floss and do all those things, but they still get cavities and they still get gingivitis and they still get plaque. And so the mission of every dentist legitimately should be to have perfect dental health where they should never need to touch their teeth. But that's not the case because everyone has been incorrectly informed about how to care for their teeth. And they missed most important things. The bacteria that causes plaque is in there, causing the thing to get into the gums. The bacteria that does the decay, the acidity, the incorrect procedures, learning the truth about dental. You never have to go to a dentist again. Once you get your teeth repaired, if you've damaged them, if you've had them drilled, you got to get them perfected and then keep them there. So, and you can, but people are completely in the mindset that, no, you have to go to the dentist for checkups every 6 months. You got to go to the dental hygienist and get scraped simply because that's the standard. And your health could be so dynamically affected if you have any problem with your teeth, especially if you have low-grade infection or you had an extraction and there's a low-grade infection in the cavitation forever. That could cause all kinds of problems that you're not aware of until you get it fixed, but it's sitting there. You can't tell it's there, but your body knows it's there. Or if you've had root canals or if you've had implants, what kind, what was the circumstance? Where is it at right now? These are all measurable things. Yeah, systemic dentistry is a big topic for me. I've done big, deep dives. Mainstream dentistry does not agree with this at all, but that's okay because they're trained differently than a holistic. So it's like this battle between the two worlds, right?
It's great to know that there's a product that can help your dental health, that, oral probiotics, we hear doing some oil pulling every day. And then you're saying too, you could add these products in that you've already referenced and that would help greatly.
Yeah. And the problem with oil pulling, which does work, is that people will not religiously do it. They will do it. They'll try it. And then they'll realize, hey, that's 10 minutes of my life every single day that I'm going to do this thing. Wow. And then they just eventually stop. So it trends up and then it goes down and stops. So when you have something you can put in your toothbrush that's far superior to oil pulling, and that's all you got to do twice a day because you're brushing your teeth anyway. Wow. Okay. That's a much simpler, more
Yeah.
effective way to do it. And the
Yeah.
iodine, you're going to take the iodine anyway. So you put it in your mouth and swish it for 30 seconds, wash it down with a little bit of water, and you're set. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that our thing is to make it as simple and effective as possible. No shortcuts, but definitely not complicated. Something that I'm going to do, that you're going to do, that's the thing.
I want to bring up to something that I've heard you talk about a couple times is just your theory on longevity. I'm anti the word anti-aging. I like to think about it as live longer, die shorter. What are your theories about longevity and what are some tips? I know like all of these things are important for longevity, but are there other tips that you would give because it is such a hot topic with people on longevity itself?
Right. Well, it's a trending term that started probably, maybe 30 years ago or so, or started to really come on. And it's a term that is looking down the road rather than today. So we don't know how long we're going to be alive on the earth because we could get run over by a truck tomorrow. I don't. It's very unlikely. But the most important thing that I learned is not thinking about long. Think about right here, right now, exactly where you are on this call, exactly where you are today at this very moment. And what level of health do you have overall in all of your systems? There's organ function, eyesight, hearing, sensory, structural, your coordination. How well do your joints work? How well are your muscles going? Are you stiff and sore? Are you getting older? Because that shouldn't be happening once you know how to take care of your body. So and then tomorrow, are you a little bit better in every category? Not much, just a little bit. That's all that's required. And the day after that, and every day you're improving noticeably. And then after 10 years, you're dramatically improved from where you were 10 years ago, but you only had a little bit of an increase every day. And so the body should legit live till 120 with good health. A lot of people think 70, anything past 70 is borrowed time. A lot of people think their life is pretty much over at 40, that they're probably going to be on a decline from then because that's all the mindset of
Yeah.
the propaganda. It's
All
all
right.
propaganda driven. You unsubject yourself to the propaganda and you have your own dialogue. You've got your own narrative. You just speak about getting a little bit healthier every day in every category. Now, whether you're doing that today or not, you're speaking to it because the more you speak to it, you say, I am perfectly healthy. That means I'm completely healthy. Then all of those things will keep showing up to make that a reality because you keep speaking about yourself. So when you speak about your body, if you say, well, I've been told I have this and I have this, wow, your body will listen to that too, and you'll manifest that. We can't go by what we're told. We can go by what we speak about. We're not going to ignore something if we have something seriously wrong with us and pretend that we don't have that, but we don't talk to that. We just say, okay, my body is getting healthier every single day in every single way, and I'm here to support that. And your body listens, and then people, tools, protocols, and nutrients and elements will show up in your existence to make that a reality because you keep speaking to it. And you can only serve yourself and you can only put predictions on yourself that are beneficial to you. If I say something that's going to be a prediction that's going to be harmful, what's the value in that? Body talk and how you speak to yourself and how you project things out, because you're here to be kind and loving to yourself and to everyone around you and treat people with respect and give them their dignity. You want to give yourself your dignity. Yeah, you might have weaknesses and things you know about yourself that you're not happy with, but you don't speak to that. You speak to the opposite of where you're heading to cover that weakness, giving yourself dignity. Because if I can't give myself dignity, how on earth am I going to give you dignity? Right? And so I ask for perfect love. I can't produce perfect love. I might be able to produce 1% of partial love. But if I'm asking for perfect love to be given to me to give to you, now I'm not taking credit.
All right.
And I can receive that. Or
Mm-hmm.
perfect understanding, perfect forgiveness. Because if I can't forgive myself, how am I going to forgive you? Right. And if I say I forgive you, but I didn't really mean it. So then I say, no, I'm asking for perfect forgiveness so that I can transmit that to everybody around me. And forgiving my body. It's not your body's fault. And I'm not into blaming me, or I'm into taking responsibility. If I've done something that's been harmful, got to measure up, take accountability, and do something about it. Right. So that's,
It's the biggest shift. It really is. I mean, I have a page of like affirmations I read every single day. And I have told many patients when I worked at the clinic I was working at and clients, there's a big difference between I'm sick and I'm healing. There's a big
right.
difference between that.
Yep.
So I really think that's important, and I'm really glad you shed that. I was hoping for that answer because I wanted you to shed some light on that and the mindset and the importance of that, because I'm sure in your journey and my journey, we learned that this is a powerful way to heal. It's to make sure that you're feeding the subconscious, not just minerals and nutrients, but also feeding it the right information from your brains. Before we go, could you tell people how to connect with you so that they can learn more about you and more about your supplements?
Yeah, well, the one way is we're providing you a link for people to save some energy on trying some things and acquiring things. So through your link and then the activationproducts.com, and however, the interface there, that's our main website. On Instagram is Ian Clark Activated. And on all the other platforms, it's just Ian Activated, whether it's TikTok. And I don't personally spend time on social because I don't have time, but we do publish a lot of good information on there, and it's helpful, beneficial. So that's the best place. And then we have an email list that if people subscribe to that, then they get access at different levels to information that we put out there. We have a thing called the Vault that people can subscribe to as well. And that's sharing some very much deeper information that we can't necessarily publicly speak about. So there's all kinds of different levels of interface. I haven't done any real one-to-ones. I've done them over the years to help people one-to-one, but I'm not a doctor and I don't prescribe, but I've learned a lot about what that person can do for themselves. So there may be something like that available down the road, or even group webinars. We're just getting that organized right now. I do have monthly master classes that people can subscribe to. And then there's questions and answers also of sharing things that we've learned over the years.
Lots of stuff. Good. That'd be great. And I'm sure the listeners will want to find a way to learn more because you have so much stuff. And I know there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about necessarily, on here that is good stuff for people to learn. So hopefully people will contact you and get in touch with you and learn further from you. I certainly know I will. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today, Ian.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Christy, and we'll look forward to future conversations. There's a lot more to share. There's some things that I haven't started publicly speaking about yet that are crucially important on a lifestyle side of things that do tie into our products, but not directly. The products are more supportive, and it is something that is fully researched, fully validated for the last 100 and some years, and never spoken about hardly at all. And it's the most important topic ever. And so when you find out about this, it's going to give you another dimension to go into to support your body's ability to stay healthier every day.
It's a great teaser. That's what we call that in our business, a great teaser. So I know people will follow you and they'll want to learn more. So thank you again, Ian.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok at Whole Health Christy. Let me know what resonated with you and mostly what you'd love to hear more about in future episodes. You can always find full show notes at christyhugic.com/podcast. And if this conversation was helpful, please take a moment to like, follow, review, or share the podcast with someone who could benefit. A quick review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube goes a long way in helping me continue bringing you meaningful conversations like this one. Stay tuned for the next episode of Ripple Effect Connection. Together, let's create waves of change.